ngasi BPSC course 132 Indian Government and Politics ki Block 3 Institutions Unit 8 Executive ki ngasi para makha sathasi ko amang da Block 3 ki legislature ki part both union and state legislature ki question khare ko ngasi executive ki da part han bai da re ko ngasi ko na lo du sina ma mi si sang mani na par ani thon khai dok ta ya de duna ngasi executive ki parasi policy aduna executive se ngasai gi mamang da koina naina gi buda government ki magi institutions like sida maruina main institutions ahum legislature executive aduga judiciary ahum jida ngasi gi koina khana doisna executive ki ni executive sida da india gi oina magi laiba lenga pathap se gi makha pona koi constitution gi provisions since da executive power se kana da kamaina lay masigi power sing se kana na kamai torga exercise to woni habina sing bagi pamagi power ko gi mating mangam haiba tare masi ko gi mai yen thoga lay ko duna introduction da koina khamina ba ya si executive power se government of india gi wena bagi president of india se da ko pi ta sen provision gi matung ina de ko adubu ngasai gi tasengna president of india sina magi executive sigi mako we haraga su tasengna executive power se mana mapung phana sizina bangamra ngamdabra hadu ni koina ngasi makha ta na pai executive nai na rapada maloina ngasi koina tamdishi ba aduna president of india si tasengna koigi leibak sigi ko india bharat aiba leibak sigi magi formal head of the state when labor aduga loina na symbol of the nation di lebar sigi magi kani khudam haidare magi mako oina ko lebar sigi mako amoina mapi mako amoina maina lowi aduga constitution of india zina kedoga bestows authority and dignity on the office of president without providing adequate powers to rule ngasagi president of india zida ida ngasagi constitution zina kedoga mangonda Mazina executive ki mako ni hadana mana kwaidagi sawa ko kwaidagi matik mangam lega myo ni hadana magi authority and dignity ko ikai khumna ba masi ko president ni office de pi ba tawta bu pi raga su adequate powers to rule lega singa pagi thagai singba tawba ngamba matik mangam de di mangonda sina ba haga di sina de ba adugini without providing adequate powers to rule haisi The president performs essentially a ceremonial role while the prime minister exercises real executive power. Adana sagi koina president amasung prime minister ko India gi leba parliamentary democracy gi context da koina president gi magi powers functions me amsi masi jiga prime minister jiga yengar pakanda koina kali phangi madudi presidency di thagesing na ga di maming gi oina koi ceremonial role everything asai gi mai maming da aya masin oina thabak thoram yan je pangdi pangthok ba magi aya ba loba mangon da tana ba adubu tasena executive sigi thagesing ba laiba nga pagi tawungam ba pai matik mangam sidi kanana season da ya ba kan da prime minister na pai laiba sigi government sigi mako oina maina pangthwe while the president is the head of the state prime minister is the head of the government adana india gi laiba Lebak Napagi Sana Pathaf Constitution ki manung da piba provisions ki matung ina President of India sina India ai baleba sigi mako we adubu government ki oina di leiba juji paliba lenga natraga mamangi lenga natraga lakade ba topa anova government of India sigi magi mako sigi kanan wa ya kana prime minister sina we aduna juji ki oina India ki prime minister Sri Narendra Modi jina government sigi mako way the president carries out the actual functions of the government only with the aid and advice of the council of ministers headed by the prime minister aduna ngasai government gi mako way ba prime minister aduga magi loinariba gi council of ministers ko hai ba ngai singi mai khoi gi mateng amasung mai khoi gi pautak ki makhada sai president sina monda piriba thabal thoram singse khoi gi pangthok pangam President of India is more like that of the British monarch rather than that of US president. Adana Wahol Doctor when a criminal VRC, Yagi executive powers in the President of India, Sina Mako Ni Haidana Matamagasu, my actual powers is seasonable Matam the Yangagadi, the Sena, in practice the Yangagadi. Saigi President of India, Magi United Kingdom, Magi Ningtho, or sometimes Queen Magi ceremonial power either ceremonial position that was like Lenga Pagi Maming the Mari Maming the Supper Nomina the Agi presidency na British ki monarch ki matogum never. Aduga US ki president Hiragadi USA ki or United States of America ki Magi the presidential form of government parliamentary and a presidential form of democracy USA the Senate the US ki president has na why the it's all Magi powerful executive share Adugi can do the India context of the way there. US president, India president, Magi Matikman and propaganda, India presidents, the youngest phone away. And then a British monarchy sangam later. As the Queen of Makata, president of India, see Magi Karikarimona power be Karikaitogam de the Canana president, Yaya, the Maya Akupa details in Nasico, among the crest legislative parties, The Constitution has made detailed provisions to see that the President is a ceremonial head and that he does not arrogate to himself any real power. And the Constitution the user and the Yamna Kumna Masakaina, Saigi, President of India says ceremonial head, ni and the Mamona Tasena, any power, mana. More the period powers in the same season of the Bagi, Mawama the Hidar, Bagi powers and on the P rider. Aduin the Mazi ceremonial head Kadam Way Hasiva. The president is indirectly elected for a term of 5 years and can be removed on the basis of impeachment proceedings brought against him by the parliament. Aduga Indiagi presidency Mazi directly elected to Nati Mayam Yamna Botadar Mazi indirectly Nakoina Pagi. Voting to the can by the Mikala, Napoinaba, Mikalamada, Mase Mina, Sahi Mangayo in a Kali, Aduga, Mahase Karimba, Magi Aramba, Soiba, Tohaidaba, the constitutional provisions since the Wama, the constitutional provisions since the violent Toraga, Madugi Wama, the Akaiva Tabak Torakanda, Mabu, Magi Pams, the Lopopoli process, as I impeachment proceeding sizable. The mind Toraganda Parliament, Magi Mayota, impeachment Toraga Lopoping and Maver. 5 years terms loading. The vice president is also indirectly elected and he will serve as head of the state in the event of the president's resignation, removal by impeachment or death. The presidency Magi Maha Tangboina Mabu support honorable vice presidency su president Gumna indirectly or in Nakoina Mikal Kalaga Patopa Duma system Amada Kaligom. Maxina presidency Kaigumba resigned to give a toba, Natragana presidency impeachment or Lotokiba, Parliament, Natragana presidency of Lagi the Bumba Topo Matanda, Sigiba Matanda, presidential positions, a Hangmayada Bunina, Mazi, vice presidential, president Tabaton Sinsi, my Puna, Makasa Tagana. Was it president Kanabu, Wemba Yai, Yadi, President Nama, Wayagadi, India President Wayagadi, Kari, Aigi, on the same Yadava, Matimaya Sing Havatare, Wayumagi qualifications, Amada. Qualifications for the office of President of India is laid down in Article 50 and 59 of the Constitution. Haiba Article Anishita, Wagi Masakaina Pire, President Wagaba Midida, Sieneva Monda Yawava, Matimaya Sing. A candidate should be a citizen of India and must have completed 35 years of age and possess other qualifications which are necessary to become a member of the Lok Sabha. Aduna citizen of India, Indiagi Nagarik citizen, Koigi Vidavia de President Wayagadi Adu Matatama say Kuntramanga Mapung Pana Sura Mu and Moedam, say Kuntramanga de Tavia de Adugi Matata. President Oideva Mioidu, Lok Sabagi, MPM Oibagi, Matik Saba, Adugumba Kanamando, Matimai the Mona C and Yadovanico. He see should not hold any office or profit under the union, state, or local governments at the time of his election, nor should he be a member of either House of Parliament or state legislature. The president or the state ki, union ki, local government ki, any level da profit, office of profit ay tare ko tolop saba thaba sen thopa thaba dugumba ma tawya de election ni matam da election thengna matam da aduga loina na mazing parliament natragana state legislature ko India ki laiba state singi natragana parliament ki member amato previya de magi president ki election fight to matam. Besides, the candidates should possess such other qualifications as may be prescribed by the parliament from time to time. Adi matakta haiba presidential candidacy mana mangonda yawadaba mangonda layudaba qualifications magi haitoi singtoiba matik mayai singsi matam gi matungina parliament lepa pushing adusu mangonda yawadaba haidana maina thamni ko. Method of election Masidayda akoina president and vice president se koi indirectly elected to hare koi na koi na mawang amada mikhal pangtho ga khanmani hare adi taragadi ngasai gi masi khanbagi mo se kamai to no hare the method of election ni akoina ina bisiba. An indirect election through an electoral college within bracket composed of the elected members of parliament and elected members of the state legislative assemblies on the basis of proportional representation and by means of a single transferable vote. Masida haizing as indirect election si matamda electoral college amasemi electoral college si say by light tambang college not electoral college as vote hada gadoriba as madugi manungsan gadawa noising dugi kanwani masida kana yawe hakanda parliament MP ko adagi state legislative assembly singda board thadaraga karaba MLA sing ko mai koigi mayamdugi apunba electoral college ama nang kaidoba proportional representation ading asai missing gi matungina sai gi haiba koigi MP sing ko natra MLA sing ko adu state to gi magi missing gi matungina yenga kanda sai gi lebak sigi phangbam thopa moigi vote ki kano aidare koigi ratio koigi vote ki ratio aibare ko madu masai gi single transferable vote ki system decision araganda in the election the pangthoga the minor convention based on the system of principles of uniformity among states and parity between the center and the states. The election procedure is designed to ensure the election of a truly national candidate. Other candidate whether ba US a contra manga sure India citizen amani mangonda level top qualifications yauri haraga hekta yabagi wafam amanate masida magi candidate to gi magi truly national candidate oiba candidate to ngasagi national level da miyamna masak khangaba lebak sigi kegumba maroi ba thodan khara koigi maipuna raba dugumba masak naiba mi mo oibagi monda koigi mayamna presidential candidate se puthopata natana ngasagi haiba presidential candidacy ngasagi principles of uniformity among states and parity between the center and the states and ngasagi labor states mayam sigi koigi samanaba mawong ama da yengbagi niyeng ko duga loina na ngasagi center amasung states singgi ani gi zu marakta koigi manaba khalla ma jare ko the maina susanaba mawong ama da sema kanda election procedure se pangthoya ko maram di kaino kanda center na hector pamba candidate ama koigi president oina koigi elect tobana taba center su state su adoga labor states so masa me am sigi marakta zu ngasagi yamna kaina khenaba na taba manaba miyeng amada koigi sagatba koigi aduda yunpham oya kanda ngasagi election gi kaino su pangthopane method of election se to ensure uniformity among states, the value of the votes of elected members of the state assemblies is calculated on the basis of the population of the state. Adana state singi marakta manaba thongama semna hona basida saiki state to assembly da vote karaba koigi elected members ko MLA singse moi vote ki value si karina leb ki haba kanda on the basis of the population of the state to give misingi mi masingi the yunpham or whole The value of a state's electors vote is worked out by dividing the total population of the state by the total number of elected members in the assembly. Hariba state to gi electors give votes magi can also value is kamaina hotpa gi haba kanda state to gi apunba missing ko madrida sagi state assembly to the laiba wagi total MLA masing ko elected members ki masing do aduna yanthoga phangba kano do aduna state ki electors ki vote to give value oil. Say for example Manipuri ki wena say 30 lakhs has a population 30 lakhs ne have the akoi labor state assembly elected members masing 16 in a frade ta de high but 30 lakhs da 60 na divide to phangba du can what state electors ki vote ki value le te have. The quotient obtained is divided by 1,000 to obtain the value of the vote of each member of the assembly in the presidential election. The presidential election is the high ba saigi vote ki value si saigi total population of the state to the saigi total number of elected members in the state assembly na yantoga phangiba quotient do madrida 1,000 na pa amo divide taraga and phangaiba my value duna member khudimaki state assembly member khudimana thadaba vote to value do presidential election da adu lepe ko adu ni ngasai election gi model ko my method se indirect election to ko the value of the vote of a member of parliament is obtained by dividing the total number of votes given to all the elected members of the state assemblies by the total number of elected members of both the houses of the parliament. Adagidi among asagi electoral college the state assembly elected members singi aduga masagi parliament the yariba MP singi apungi composite can mani ko electoral college salida na MP singi vote ki value simu sida yang pakanda masina mu kamaina wagya kanda total number of votes given to all the elected members of the state assembly ki the elected members with the Piba Tadaba Botki Apunma Masindo Madrida Karina Yantoga by the total number of elected members of both the houses of the parliament. Parliament Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha houses and Motelaiba Apunba elected members ki Masindo Namu Haiba Masinda and Yantoga the Pangba and the Belu Dune Botki Belu de Pisipa. Voting is by single transferable vote with electors casting first and second preferences. First and second preference was a candidate who receives an absolute majority of votes cast by the electoral college is declared a winner. However, electoral college masidayda by the absolute majority pangba votes the absolute majority pangiba candidate na winner oy. In case no candidate secures an absolute majority in the first counting, the second preference votes of the lowest polling candidates are transferred to the other remaining candidates until one candidate crosses the threshold of 50% of the votes cast. Unna thadariba vote to give 50% pangudani asagi absolute majority si. Adang asagi kaigumba majority absolute majority je ahamagi masing thiba da phangdaba thok taragadi asagi edoba candidates man the marta quaidagi masing yamdana vote phangiba ko lowest polling toriba candidate to be magi second preference voting do kanada thawa lemhoiba tay candidates sing da loina transfer toroganda asai 50% je yobra haidana ba adu transfer to toroganda 50% yoga power the man transfer toroga yenge adu ga da 50% This method of election was intended to make the presidential election broad-based to achieve a political balance between the center and the states. Hai ba makhangi koigi election tawagi ko mikhal pangthokagi mawsi kari gidamakta semi no hakanda presidential election je hena paktok saktok ko broad-based wenba saigi Kamaina Harakanda Ngasagi Center Amazon State side na India gi labor federal ko wasi wire so federal gi sablo na malay wasi ko union state side na center states na lay wasi dai da ngasagi center na loina magi mating mangam power season ga tawning ba to gi na tabo gi center ga state ka gi marak sida da ngasagi magi federal gi oiba power sharing gi amagi sigi posima punna masaga masagamina baidare presidential election da adugi madu phangna baidare hariba method se sizina bana. Thus, the President of India represents not only the Union but also the states, and it shows the federal character of the Indian polity. The President of India si na Union government si katang represent the states is punna represent election system na federal character of the Indian polity India center state side na government si ani tong khairaga the minor power sharing towa center state ki relations already the union list states list concurrent list kind of provisions in yaw to federal structure do manghanda baidare the president of India si khanbai can was haiba can was federal structure federal character si manghanda ba madu promote gi mawong ma the same gi tamo office presidency kaya ko na thabak tawi kamai tawo ko pagi can was the tenure of the office of president is 5 years. Sahi mga kakini president oidusi aduga presidency na kayumba second term pai haragadi madu constitution na thing balaite haiba second term gi kanosi Rajendra Prasad ko Dr. Rajendra Prasad se yayoina sahi president ani da waki ko daya mana presidency ani ra hanjana obisi kya sana de Constitution the president remains in office until his or her successor enters the office. President Amana Tabak de Potaba Basi Anoba Caliber President office for my Tabakse Sandri Power either and doing to power president or if the president wishes to resign, he can send his resignation letter to the vice president. Kayumba incumbent president who's usually waiver presidency na Metropati Mumuna Kaigumba presidency or I must tell the Potara resigned or Kalaga de Mana Kedowa vice president resignation letters a tar name Ice Man resigned again. If the post of the president falls vacant, by president takes over the SARS. Kaigumba Sanama Zaga presidency Tamzi Haraga presidency president resigned to Givana Tragamasi presidency Mapam Loto by the parliament impeachment proceeding the previous propaganda president post the vice president Magi Tabatoramdu Mohsengani. But the election for the post of president must be conducted within 6 months from the date of occurrence of the vacancy. Vice President President Matamda Magi Tose Puraga President Pamse Hangaloi Tawatabu Kayumba presidency Panzim Hang Patagazi Madu Hek Hangba Numitudagi Tibada Tataru Super Power Manunda election Pantokada Sagi President was mentioned another Tataru Tinda the provisions is minor P. Removal of the president. Presidency Magi India Yam Sauba executive head or state head or the minor lay in Piragasu. Presidency as I Lotopos, Kamkrama ground, Lotopaya, and Article 56 and 61 high by impeachment India impeachment you can see Article 56 and 61 minor Kamba ground, Karamkaramba Pribam Bomatola, Paganda presidency. My Pamdagi Matiksa and October the Constitution lays down violation of the Constitution as the ground for removal. Quality Marueba, President Bumai Pamdagi Latonagi Kayani, my qualities of Maralama Zikaino Haradi, Constitution do Kaikunadava, violation of the Constitution, Constitution Zigi, Magi Sana Kangi. Wang the either Sana Patap, Sana Kang, Wang the market, but Tabas Tori has the Mayamsina Yanaraba. Lukan the mass impeachment over Yama, you can say Constitution, it's my article 5661 to the period. The process of impeachment can be initiated in either House of Parliament and must be passed by not less than 2/3 of the total membership of the House in which it has been moved. President impeachment over Wafam C. Kanana Pukatpaya have Parliament House animal. Amanatraga Amada. Lok Sabana Wegera, Rai Sabana Wegera House, Amanatraga Amana Masi Pukatpaya. aduga hariba pukhaliba house na ko kaigumba pukhaliba impeachment gi resolution si saigi 2/3 total membership of the house ko Lok Sabha na initiate awagana Lok Sabha gi member yamda saruk hum topagi ani na saigi support awdamne adukanda this many can also pass away. If the other house investigates the charge and 2/3 majority of that house find him guilty, the president stands impeached from the office from the date of passing of the resolution. Adagi ngasagi initiate riba hamba kontang local riba parliament gi se Lok Sabha wo ezu Rajya Sabha wo ezu adugi house na magi 2/3 members na ngasagi yanarakanda pass the resolution se atopa house na mu thijan ganeba Lok Sabha na initiate awagana Rajya Sabha na investigate awuni Rajya Sabha na awagana Lok Sabha na ko maina investigate awaganda magi maran si sumila le si magi lepaganda ka karigumba mase marale haibase 2/3 majority na yanara haiba topa house na si retadi president se magi office tegi saigi haiba resolution de pass awagana mase mase phamle paidre hadana maina lauto banelo ko impeach story hadana The procedure of removal of President of India is difficult and has been made so to prevent misuse of this power by the Parliament. India ki constitution ki magi provisions since they da checks and balances sabatare. Asai laiba Parliament bu erasu executive bu erasu judiciary bu erasu legislature bu erasu magi phenomenon si singlup nyam haidare ba manung de yawi ba khoi singlup mayam si Tabak tawra kanda asagi amana amabu namhallaga mana tawningba tawba yadana bagi ko checks and balances se semak bagi saruga ma waina asagi president of India si kaigumba marala ma hekta pisalaga koi lokthokpa yanda ba haidare ko madugi president se lokthokpa di yagani adugu yagadoriba pose yam laina yabdi uhenna haidare difficult uhela maram di kaigino kanda kaigumba madu lairaga di Parliament na India ki president ama hekta moi nakra pamna bo oi dia kan hekta moi impeachment tawra president de lokhopa nomena lokhopa report adu la na season da ba season handa na ba ta misuse tawra na ba ko ikra difficult way da impeachment process till that no president of India has been impeached nasi phawda 1947 diagi ninka tama matung dagi ko gi laiba ko gi kenosi Zimbabwe Lebanga Pui can consider Tafsida President Amata Zimbabwe Haiba Constitution provisions since the Makada Pisto Giba Magi Pandagi Tani Zimbabwe later Matanga Koina powers of the President of India Magi Matim Mangam Singpa Matim Mangamana Tobungam by the Magi Angam Sinsikai no have the Article 53 na Magi President of India ki executive powers ngai si kai no have madu palli President ki powers si ordinary aduga emergency powers side na ani thona nei na be yai ha magi ordinary powers si ngasai ki magi executive ki line da legislative ki line da financial and judicial powers in seasonally line da mana magi ordinary powers ki amasu lai ko adu makhata ba khra palakani ha bada article 53 na It confers all executive powers in the president and empowers him to exercise these powers directly by him or through officers subordinate to him. Article 53 has executive powers could the president sida PM and the high powers in semana season nabagi and see directly masana season aba natragana atopa magi makataba officers in Tabusina, Saigi Taburesina, Pantopagi, executive power must say president Article 56 in the PM in that constitution. Article 75 requires the Prime Minister to communicate to the President regarding all decisions of the Union Council of Ministers. Yamna interesting way is it Article 75 ki makhada India ki Prime Minister na magi Union Council of Ministers ko state ki nataba ko union level ki Council of Ministers ko Prime Minister na Council of Ministers ki ma head with ni ko ma masajina Mama Sarja Council of Minister Sarugapani Lugamana Hero the Prime Ministers in a Sagi Union Council of Ministers and Loropa Warrior Single decision Kudima Presidency the Johan Governor Masa Article 75 and P. The President has both administrative and military powers. Sagi President executive powers in Sigi Sarugamoina, Sagi Monda Langapagi. The military powers in the supreme command of the armed forces is vested in the president, and all appointments in armed forces are made under the authority of the president as the supreme commander of the armed forces. India's presidency is the armed forces, Navy, Air Force, Army, and quite a Mako by the Supreme Commander and Masinako. Masi President the Armed Forces Taban Kaliba Kudi Maxi as I President of India, Magi Maminga, Magi Soya, and Magi Creator, the Mind Tower Sata appointments Anthony. President appoints the Prime Minister and on the letters advise the Council of Ministers, the Attorney General, the Justices of the Supreme Court and High Courts, members of special commissions such as Union Public Service Commission and the Election Commissions and the governors of the state. Presidents in also what we Panai Kama, Yama Kanman, Mana Kaliba, the Prime Minister, and they give Prime Minister Magi Pokta Makada, President, Council of Ministers, you don't come same with the Council of Ministers, the Kanaka Yawa, the Having Presidents in Prime Minister Pokta Makada, Sematuni, the Attorney General, Yagi Amaruba, Todam Puba, Dumba, Pambulama, Attorney General, Post. The Supreme Court की justice the get नाम को the High Court की justices इनको the total मरुएबा commission सिंह मरुएना Union Public Service Commission को Central Service की थबक खंबा नुमा मरुएबा commission अमनी मसे की थोनी सिंह the मागी Election Commission की थोनी को मिखाल बांटो पता मसों थोड़ा नौइबा कोई Commission Election Commission की थोनी सिंह अदुग लोइना ना इंडिया दा लेबर स्टेट्स में हमसे की माई गवर्नर को प्रेसिडेंट की यूनियन गवर्नमेंट की मिहुट होना की प्रेसिडेंट की एक नमथंग दा लेबर कोई गवर्नर्स ऑफ द स्टेट्स से मसी में हमसे खन्ने प्रेसिडेंसी में को The choice of the Prime Minister is not a discretionary prerogative of the President, but is usually dictated by the party commanding a majority following in the Lok Sabha. Prime Minister J President Khalere Prime Minister J Kana Waidino Haisi Adubu Sagi Haiba Prime Minister J Mana Oigadoni Haidana Mioya Mana Misakuna Prime Minister Oigadami Haisi President Mana Apama Mida Kalaga when Benamra Adu did not have my discretionary prerogative did not have Haiba Prime Minister Oidaba Misakse Bagi Mahusana Saigedova majority Pangaba Party to be Magi leader. Adu the Nangasagi Adam Wajavan Lok Sabagi majority Pangiba Party to be Magi Lusing by the Maduna Dum Prime Minister Wavik and when the President Mana Kaninga Gami Mishalama Saigi Mana Prime Minister Walazi had an Lepagi Dum he can mourn in the Prime Minister Kanmay Wafan. Presidency Defense Forces, Armed Forces की commander in Sydney had a man so high grade and a man Saigi by military powers in Manunda. Presidents in Indian Army ships, Navy ships, Air Force ships for services home tri services and Maruba services home levels. You ship Mako Sinjaloina President appointed over the company. He has the power to declare war and conclude peace subject to ratification of the Parliament. However, President is not a member of either House of Parliament. Adaida Amna Maruba Topa power of President Hagating Asagi, Kanawama Leba Amaga, Land Sonarani Hadana, Masidagi, Diaga, say Pakistan, Gawazu, Topa Leba Amaga, Sus Minor Land Sonarani had a large lot of Natagana, Land Silu, Kanjita, Santi, Santi Hanzelaba. ꯌꯥꯅꯕ ꯋꯥꯔꯣꯏꯁꯤꯟꯅꯕ ꯄꯣꯔꯛꯑꯀꯥꯟꯗꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯥꯏꯅ ꯁꯥꯟꯇꯤ ꯍꯟꯖꯜꯂꯦ ꯍꯥꯏꯗꯅ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯈꯨꯌꯦꯛ ꯄꯤꯅꯗꯅꯀꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯌꯥꯅ ꯆꯦ ꯁꯥꯏꯟ ꯇꯧꯅꯕ ꯈꯣꯠꯄ ꯁꯤꯒꯨꯝꯕꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣ ꯄꯥꯋꯔꯁ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯁꯤꯗꯦꯟꯁꯤꯅ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯉꯝꯃꯤꯁꯤꯅꯦꯕꯀꯣ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤ ꯃꯥꯅ ꯇꯧꯅꯤꯡ ꯇꯧꯕ ꯉꯝꯕ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯃꯊꯟꯇ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯒꯗꯤ ꯌꯥꯗꯦ ꯃꯗꯨ ꯃꯥꯅ ꯋꯥꯔ ꯗꯤꯀ꯭ꯂꯦꯌꯔ ꯇꯧꯔꯒꯁꯨ ꯃꯗꯨꯒꯤ ꯔꯦꯇꯤꯐꯤꯀꯦꯁꯟ ꯃꯗꯨ ꯆꯠꯅꯔꯅꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯕꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯦ ꯄꯥꯔꯂꯤꯌꯥꯃꯦꯟꯠꯅ ꯄꯤꯒꯗꯧꯕꯅꯤ ꯑꯗꯨꯕꯨ ꯉꯁꯥꯏꯒꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ ꯃꯌꯥꯝꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯀꯩꯅꯣꯁꯤꯗꯩꯗ ꯑꯃꯨꯛ ꯌꯥꯝꯅ ꯉꯛꯏꯕꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯁꯤꯁꯇꯦꯝꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯃꯈꯥꯗ ꯄ꯭ꯔꯦꯁꯤꯗꯦꯟꯁꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯀꯩ ꯍꯥꯏꯅꯤ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯄꯥꯔꯂꯤꯌꯥꯃꯦꯟꯠꯒꯤ ꯍꯥꯎꯁ ꯑꯅꯤ ꯂꯩꯕ ꯂꯣꯛ ꯁꯚꯥ ꯑꯃꯁꯨꯡ ꯔꯥꯖ꯭ꯌ ꯁꯚꯥ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯃꯦꯝꯕꯔꯗꯤ ꯑꯃꯠꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯦꯕ ꯃꯥꯁꯦ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯇꯣꯉꯥꯟꯕ ꯀꯣ ꯑꯩꯈꯣꯏꯒꯤ ꯄꯥꯔꯂꯤꯌꯥꯃꯦꯟꯠꯇꯨꯒꯤ ꯁꯔꯨꯛ ꯑꯃꯒꯤ ꯃꯑꯣꯡꯗꯗꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯒ ꯄꯥꯔꯂꯤꯌꯥꯃꯦꯟꯠꯇꯨꯒꯤ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯍꯥꯎꯁ ꯂꯣꯛ ꯁꯚꯥ ꯔꯥꯖ꯭ꯌ ꯁꯚꯥꯁꯤꯒꯤ ꯃꯦꯝꯕꯔ ꯑꯣꯏꯕ꯭ꯔꯥ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯗꯤ ꯃꯦꯝꯕꯔꯗꯤ ꯑꯃꯠꯇ ꯅꯠꯇꯦꯕꯀꯣ Article 79 hari madudi President is an integral part of the Union Parliament. Sagi Parliament of India is the supreme legislative bodies or the Parliament of India si masi jigi tanaba thanaba yadra sarup amane presidency masi karina hai Article 79 hai le adu sagi presidency parliament gi integral part amu wai hai rasu maje Lok Sabha members natte Rajya Sabha members natte Parliament Sarum Amadi Way. President has the power to summon both the houses, nominate 12 members to the Rajya Sabha, has the right to address either house or their joint session at any time, and the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Presidency magi tawangamba mating mangam singi manungda saigi Parliament gi house ani mapumana session thamu haidana summon tawangami adagi Rajya Sabha da pagi akhanaba member try and join mana nominate tawangami ko magi mana phai matik sai na khanba ben ko adi madakta ngasagi house Lok Sabha bo egera Rajya Sabha bo egera mana address tawai yai ko natragana ani maki apunba house ani maki apunba joint session amada mana address tawai yai ko mana mifam len ko mifam dagi muchung len oiraga kano tawbo ko aduga ngasagi power to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is dissolved to President Rajya Sabha dissolved to Rajya Sabha mai ngasai permanent mai feature ma like mali ko le paswaya continuous to like da mai the Lok Sabha is president na kai guma mathau taraga dissolved to no election to Lok Sabha all money bills to be introduced in the parliament have to obtain the recommendation of the president. Adi mathakta ngasai parliament da haudorakpa puthorakpa akogi money bills kudima ngasai president gi recommendation phangadawne such a prior recommendation is also necessary for introducing bills regarding formation of new states, alteration of areas, boundaries, names of the existing states, etc. President gi yamna maruiba Manipur gi context da zu koina khanba yaba magi power and function sigi manungsana ama hairagadi ngasai karigumba anouba state ama sembagi bill ama puthorakpa taraba natragana hana leiba state singsi jaga state ki magi territorial boundary haidare ko si fiction ba sokhatpa ko si alteration ko hondo hongjingi ko magi boundary mai ngakhai haidare park sawa asi hondo hongjingi bill pukhalakpa natragana leiba state singsi maming singje hondo hongjin tawbagi ko wafam mari leidana kaigumba bill si pagi parliament da pukhalakpagi matang sida president dagi hanana mangzongana magi recommendation magi ayaba ko ayaba haitare magi yaningba dugumba se yaudregadi bill da pukhatpa yade. When any bill is passed by the parliament, it can become an act only when it has the assent of the president. Mamang classes parliament houses aniduna pass or any bill ama egg one by the president magi assent pidana one by yadi provisions. The president can withhold or return a non-money bill for the consideration of the parliament. The matakta non-money bill amabusu president na kaigumba essence pida vida masi khanago haidana parliament ko agi halalapa natragana kogi ꯊꯥꯖꯤꯜꯂꯒ ꯊꯝꯕ ꯍꯥꯏꯇꯥꯔꯦ ꯑꯦꯁꯦꯟꯁꯦ ꯄꯤꯗꯕꯤꯗꯀꯣ ꯑꯌꯥꯕ ꯄꯤꯗꯕꯤꯗ. However, if the same is passed by both the houses with or without modifications and returned to the president, the latter is bound to give his assent. Adugo president na pariba assent magi ayaba pibagi bill amu ek oina pass tawagi ayaba pibagi magi power si wafam dida kaigumba haiba president na muka khana go ajana reconsider tawo na mana haiba nan mani bill si kaigumba house anizina amu hana amu kainda sendok tabida najaga sendogaju bill animakse saigi sorry bill animakse haiba bill si house animaksina saigi amu pass tawraga president da pira magi assent PBU ayaba PBU adu itadi saigi president sina saigi bill si da magi ayaba pibam thue. President can promulgate ordinances in public interest when the parliament is not in session. Kaigumba parliament si mifam phamdaba matamda kaigumba lebaki yamna maroiba tawdo watho kharadagi ko mana maram saina khalaganda president na my ordinance saidana hoigi ordinance saibasi hoigi lebaki lenga podi eno season aba hoigi ko kanglon hoigi a company masi saigi parliament na pass tawraga president gi assent phangaba hoigi bill oina pukhlakpa ko a olaba aduga samana monga sai president gi ordinance ko isana baya parliament na mepam phamda matamda ko haiba ordinance kedoba have to be placed before the parliament within a period of 6 weeks from the day of reassembling of parliament. Without the parliament's approval, the ordinance will become invalid. Haiba president pass the ordinance si sai 6 week ki manungda parliamentary session phamba horaba matung 6 weeks ki manungda masi hogi parliament ni from da puthoga hogi khana ga dabne ko aduga karigumba majuda parliament gi resolution azu president gi ordinance yaraba adu dare fare kaigumba yadragadi parliament gi approval yadragadi president na thoiba ordinance asai sanaro. Article 254 empowers the president to remove inconsistencies between laws passed by parliament and the state legislatures and the subjects included in the concurrent list. Article 354 na president da saigi parliament semakpa law parliament pass or semakpa law aduga state ki legislature na semakpa law ani gi maraksda hogi sayena ba thola inconsistencies la masil lokthong na hogi power se article 254 na president of India da pi duga loina kariumba hogi concurrent list ta yawriba state na su sizna ba yaba power ko union na su sizna ba yaba power ko ani maki marakta laiba sugumba concurrent list ki post daida masiga mari laina thabak thoram pathok kan sayena ba thola kan president na madugi yani sayena badu hogi lokthok pogi kan power se president layem. The governor of the state can reserve certain bills passed by the state legislatures for the consideration of the president. Adi mathakta state amagi governor na ko state legislation na pass or bills masi sai law ina sana jingida ko sai governor jina kai gumba masi president ki ayaba ma lobon thui habagi mona singnaba thazaba lairagadi mana madu reserve thamanga me ko masi ju yam sawo keno power man ha da president gi oina ko president gi kuthanga governor na reserve to bai da legislation na state legislation na pass over bills ko the president gi magi judicial powers ko judicial powers of the president include the appointment of the justices of the Supreme Court and High Courts and the power to grant pardon, reprieve, suspension, remission, and commutation of punishment or sentence of the court. These powers of granting pardon are given to the president for removing the extreme rigidity in the criminal laws and for protecting the persons on humanitarian considerations. President ki judicial powers in manungda sagi Supreme Court, High Court ki justices me asi khanbagi ko appoint tawgi power laire adaki de mathakta nga sagi mara lairaba ko bihar me punda natraga kai gumba crime amaga mari laina sai ko aranda thobok tawbagi kogi suspend tawdana ko mi pham kayani ko thadok taba kogi ko mara layadana kogi kesum sangda do maina pham mi pham pun tawdana layadana miyoy ba bo masai ngakpi magi marando handa biba ai sahi kun kano jail lagadabani haisi for example ko antu tali president magi sahi kundo masai already mana sahi tranga jail serve tawro matung regadi president o phare magi demoi sahi manga se magi good behavior kaya dagi yenga kanda ma thado pirasi kaina da maina kogi kaptha bi ba tare magi jail lagadaba sahi se ko mai tawdana sugumba makhan kya agi kano da siba yabagi sibu fawagi sera phangaba miyoisi magi kayani matam tensalan ba ko sugumba makhan kya agi ngapi ba tare ko si power sin si president lai. These powers of granting pardon are given to the president for removing the extreme rigidity in the criminal laws and for protecting a person's own management considerations. Having a sagi, high president the piriba sugumba ngapi ngapiba ngambagi power si karigidamagtano hayakanda ngasagi dagi laiba criminal laws si sagi masidaida mi amabu kayani magi maramdu ki ngapi na ba kanbina ko na ba si yamna kogi lu ba dare ba yamna madu matam sangba madugi wahel gi kari ko matam sangba sen sangba ko adugumba wafam amu oibnina madudagi khara omthongna president sida kaiguna miyoidu mai khara ngapi ba yaba matang oiragadi marale ba mi tu magi tungi tunsida semdok sanaba anu si ma ko bai mainstream de hingba yana ba damaina bai mai power season na bai wani aduga the president also has the right to seek the advice of the Supreme Court on some important constitutional, legal, and diplomatic matters. In 1977, President sought the advice of Supreme Court for creating special courts to try the emergency accesses. President asu kaigumba kanda masagi Supreme Court ki advice Supreme Court ki India's highest court of appeal ni ka magi pafta se low ya karma matanda on important constitutional, legal, and diplomatic matters. Yamna marui ba labak sigi bagi constitution gi wafam legal gi wafam ko aduga diplomatic matters atopa labak ka leina ba mari matanda kaiguma presidency na Supreme Court ki pawta se low mathau tare khalaga de ma low ngam ne Sumai tawdana 1977 da president na masagi Supreme Court ki pawta se karma matang law ki haba kanda for creating special courts to try the emergency accesses. 1974-5 sigi 74 gi faida masagi Indira Gandhi gi lusing makada mana prime minister matang da pagi emergency yana thamjam gi madugi manuga talk about kain ba executive na power season na bagi pa madu excesses ne ama madu gi wild zatana na ba hona ba kanda special course ke ama linkan pai da ba madu gi phazan gi ba political prisoners sing ama me am sing sagi maram la gi ta ba na wayan da bida ko gi phazan pun sing gi ba political opponents me am sing sagi masi thado na ba mo gi and si Sarak si kamay to no so milali tilo na bo na the Supreme Court report ang makada ko special course ki ama minor link at da ko president na mai si power season na ki uzi amaru ba president ni power ko makalama ordinary powers ni uzi ayama man khana gi se ko andu matung the emergency powers ni with the intention of safeguarding the sovereignty, independence, and integrity of the Union of India. The Constitution bestows emergency powers on the President of India. So, India ki bagi magi lebar segi maning makha tamba ko aduga magi lebar segi bagi saktam kahanda ba ko masiga apamba aning masi thungana ba hona ba kana Constitution na President of India sida emergency powers ko the president is empowered to declare 3 types of emergencies, namely A, the national emergency arising out of war, external aggression, or armed rebellion; B, emergency arising due to the breakdown of the constitutional machinery in the states; and C, financial emergency. National emergency is kaigumba lebak sida top leban lan tarabo नत्रगना लेबा मनुगा सोबा लालहो को हम साथीबा लेबा कायबा खुलाई पाइबा लालहो हो पकान बेदा मदु नंधनबा नेशनल इमरजेंसी लाउथोपनामी अनि सुबदना असागी स्टेट सिंगसिदा जागी लेबा स्टेट सिंगसिदा काइगुंबा constitutional machinery को constitution की provision सिंगा ना लेबा ngakpagi thabak thoram singsi phajana pangthokpa yaraktraba ko agi lai paiba ihona nataga leba miyamgi agi achoba iho kya amana disturb tarotana haiba constitutional machinery je kaitharaba kanda emergency lauthokpa yai atopa mana senthong gi phibam social matamda financial emergency lauthokpa yai ko the president can make a proclamation of national emergency at any time if he is assured that the security of any part of India is threatened by war, external aggression, or armed rebellion. Such a proclamation must be submitted to the parliament for its consideration and approval. Aiba national emergency ji lebaksigi magi security ko adi lebaksigi tekta kaidana laiba ko lebaksigi apumba natragana lebaksigi saru kharada adi lebaksigi mai ngaksen ga mari lainana national security da akaiba ko te akai tholakadore haibagi singnaba ji sound lairaba matam sida ko haiba national emergency je president na oi chalaigani aduga haiba emergency gi proclamation ko si lauthopagi wafam sibu parliament da khana nabi da mukta parliament gi session da approval pi nabi da mukta siju oida submit tawane ko thajab ngana. It must be accepted within 1 month by both the houses of parliament by 2/3 of the members present and voting. Haiba can see proclamation ni can see wafam si parliament ni session na house ani mangna jai 1 month ki manungda 2/3 members present and voting ko present oiba members saro hom thobagi ani na vote hadaraga support organda minus c can say accept the whenever progress. If the parliament fails to approve the proclamation bill, it ceases to operate. Kaigumba haiba parliamentary approval se thangdraba sai emergency ki proclamation da adu tali haiba national emergency president lauto je ko sanable ne ko ne. If approved, it can continue for a period of 6 months. However, it can continue for any length of time if the president approves the proclamation for every 6 months. Masi mathau tari national emergency level mathau tari hagadum sanghan mangamisine. The parliament, however, has the power to revoke the emergency at any time by a resolution proposed by at least 1/10 of the total members of Lok Sabha and accepted by a simple majority of the members present and voting. Adu kaigumba parliament sina emergency je lepage lefalage lokthore na khalagadi ko any matama matada mana resolution ama yamdrabada ko Lok Sabha gi saruk tara thopagi amana propose to ko moina haudopa yaena ko mai tarokanda resolution ama move tawrani aduga Lok Sabha gi members ko present oiba member mayamna vote hadana kanda ko simple majority phangaba ko adu itadi sai resolution gi matungina haiba emergency che sanabado lephan gane. National emergency in India the 1962 da article 352 in makadani national emergency je well out 1962 da Sainaga lansona bala masi ha mayona lapoki adu mathanga 1971 ki Bangladesh ki ningtam gi land wafam sida su lautoi ka. Under article 356 president can impose emergency in a state when there is a breakdown of constitutional machinery. Article 356 में आना PR है खाना बा president's rule आना president की लैंगा सना बा आगा सी article दुनी 356 से मसी जिउजिम मणिपुर दसु कोई थोई बेरा जिगा माई ना याम लुमना लौना बा दुम constitution की provision हमने को article 356 से मसी मखादा state अमदा constitutional machinery से breakdown तो ये हारा का दी president ना माई लैंगा से सनान बा state government से कोई की magi kenose sakti de wai lo tho ga da ma government se nathai President Lengapa directly Madu provision. However, it has become difficult after the Supreme Court verdict in a case known as Bomai case. The high President rule Tambagi Sanabizi Masi Uzikti Kedore, Arriva Mawed, Uzikti Kayani, Masi Bomai case and the Supreme Court. Supreme Court na Warrior Piba, Maruiba case, a mother, Gimatunda, Haiba. President's rule Tambagi Sanavisi Masi Aruba Mawari Adjectiva. Hara de Patana Tamame Presidenta Kaina Magi political Kayani lobby Hyderabadu Makada. Accordingly, the president can dismiss a state government only after the approval of the proclamation by the both houses of parliament. Hariba Bomai TSC Matumi Dikedoba, Presidenta state government Amabu Magi Kayani Matopa Napatopum Andre Masi. Lengasi lehelagum si hairaganda ngasai president room thamaktuise karamatamda yagi haganda parliament gi house ani na yara hayo film the president room thanba mathau tare habagi film di lekana article 356 sanagana. If both houses do not approve the proclamation, it lapses at the end of 2 months and the dismissed government is revived. Nahaiba parliament gi house ani sina karimba president na mana Article 1056 sana laga state amada magi president rule se salai bagi wafam jitor ka the house and is na kai madu sumde constitutional machinery background to laiti state government se matho padna tawi habagi wafam dida ayat to thamaga di president na pi proclamation se asai tha anida bagi lep kana aduga asai president na laitre hadana bagi Nathai Tamiba, where he state Lengaradu, Sagi, Amu, Nahonganamu, Galanganam. Bomai case of Zika in Wazikanda. In 1989, 19 letters from Council of Ministers were sent to the governor of Karnataka for withdrawing support from the ruling party under the leadership of S.R. Bomai as the minister. 1989, I talk about interesting about case of Karnataka state. Karnataka state ki Lengar to be. Dagak the Yoriba, Council of Ministers, Tarama Padna, Pegi, Aiba Sirosi, Governor of Karnataka, the Taraga, Sagi, Huzi Paleva, Lengaiba, Party Sidagi, SR Bomina Minister, wherever Laiba Lenga City, and Masidagi Akoi, Masida, Sapotova, Masidi, Lenga City Saru, the Toxaria, and Aiba Sirosi, Council of Ministers, Taraga Mapansila, Governors in the Targa. Following this, the governor dismissed the government. Karnataka government seat majority Pandri Hadana Madina, governors I will government say state government seat Lehandrego. But within a short period, the defected MLAs promised to support back the Bomai government. Somehow, Amama with the Nangasai Haiba, support Audrey and Hariba, MLAs Mamsi, Say 2A and Hariba Mamsi, Amu, Nona. Bomai government is a support of the Rage, when I'm high with the Yabiranu, where government see them support our Gena, Mohayabaka and Takedo. Governors in a state governors in a Madu Yadre. I will Bomai, SR Bomai now. Hana, one support of the higher minister Nanze, who's in one support of an Ivy government see full majority lay the Namasi house that I am talking away from our review. I can governors in the Yadre. Altagiti Minister S.R. Bomazna, Governor YFC paid the Supreme Court and Sinareko. Adoga Madu Sinaregi YFC 1994, the Supreme Court of P. either. President's rule can remain in force for a period of 6 months, or by 44 amendments, Parliament can extend the duration of the state emergency for a period of 6 months at one instance. Amumu Lafoposita President will see Taru Sanagani, 44 amendment Parliament 44 amendment appear. Ordinarily, the total period of such emergency cannot exceed 1 year unless there is a national emergency in force. Kayumba national emergency sanaba laitagadi haiba president rule is sanaba se yama the sahi amadagi in the yade. Total period of state emergency cannot go beyond 3 years. Adubu apunba state emergency thambaze sahi ahum dagidi suyen hemba yade provision lay. President can impose financial emergency under Article 360 if he is satisfied that a situation has arisen where financial stability or credit of India or any part of the country is threatened. Like national emergency, such a proclamation has to be led before Parliament for its approval. Article 360 in Makada, President na financial emergency je sentum ni phibam foksalapa India je sen puthawa na tagi India gi any saru amada sentum ni awa phibam ma tare haganda financial emergency where minus anali masizu national emergency gumna president na lauto madungda parliament masige aya baje minus kadami ko na masige oina siaraga class loisale masige executive ki saruk se makha ta oina mathangi class second part ko yam ton ko siara masige loisale